I'm RANAJOY. Today I'll talk about some artificial methods of vegetative propagation. So here we are going to talk about some artificial or things which are made from us humans. Yes, it's man-made methods of vegetative propagation, or basically production or reproduction, vegetative reproduction or growing up of plants. So artificial vegetative propagation is practiced by gardeners. So it is a practice. It is mainly practiced by gardeners. Well, obviously because they need a lot of plants for their garden or nursery. Yes, and it is an easier and faster way of yielding more plants. This helps in combining good varieties and quick production of new plants. So this method helps to select various plants and also breed them together in order to form a new plant. So it can be useful in selecting two plants and then also breeding them to make one new plant, which can be further improved by breeding with another. So that is why it's practiced by gardeners. So it helps in combining good varieties of plants, and it's also a very quick process of making new plants. Some of the artificial vegetative propagation methods are defined below here. So I'm going to write some artificial methods. So the first one is a very common one, cutting. See here, how does this process work? Now here is the process. Now for example, this is a plant. Yeah, you can just imagine it. For example, this is a plant. And now what the process here does is that it actually cuts off. So first the process begins by cutting a small portion of the stem of a plant, and then the second step is that exact stem is placed in the soil, and which later on turns into a new plant, for example rose. So here the process is quite simple. So first of all, you have to select a plant that you want to make anywhere that you want to cut, and next cut a small portion of the stem of the plant, and then the process is pretty easy. Just plant it in the soil and keep it and maintain like how you do with other plants, and grow it like the usual way. Watering, sunlight, all those necessary things, and after some time it will grow into the same exact plant that you have just cut. So here cutting, it obviously refers to the process. Yes, the process involves cutting, so that's why the process is called cutting. Cutting a small portion of the same, planting into the ground, and after some time it will make a new plant with the exact breed. Now one example. Now there are many examples here. Yes, but here one of them is rose. So the examples of plants being used in the cutting process is rose. Rose is a common plant which is used in cutting. Yes, obviously cut a small portion of the stem and then plant it into the ground, and it will create another rose. Pretty simple. So that is cutting. I'm going to list one of them. So the first one is cutting. The second one is grafting. So the second one is grafting. Now, how does this process work? Well, here it is performed between two plants of closely related varieties. So this process requires two plants. Away. So here this process requires two plants that have closely related varieties, or they're not. These are plants that are not exactly the same, but they are still related. So grafting is used on two plants which are closely related, but they are not the same. So here the shoot and root of the plant with superior quality taken for grafting, they are called scion and stalk respectively. So here the name of the shoot and root of the selected plant which is more superior for the process of grafting is called scion and stalk respectively. Yes. Alright, so the shoot and root of a superior plant which is used in the process of grafting is scion for shoot and stalk for root. Alright. So now the stalk and scion are tied together, which later on develop into new plants and having qualities of both the varieties. For example, grafted rose, mango, etc. So here is the process. So the stalk and scion are tied together. Let me just show it a diagram here. Alright, so this is the stalk. Yes, so the lower part is stalk here. And the upper one is scion. So stalk and scion. So first of all, take these two parts and then join them together. Yes, for example, like this. I make some sort of hole and then join these two together. And I use some sort of cloth or even rope in order to form a structure. Second hold together, hold itself together. After some time, it will form into a new plant and having the qualities of both the plants. And some examples are grafted rose. Yes, again rose here, and mango. So mango is also used for grafting. So that is the second process or method. Now number 3 is budding. So the name of the method refers to the main thing which is used in this process. A bud, obviously. The first step of a flower obviously. So here a bud along with a portion of stem of the desired plant is taken, is then inserted into a small slit made and the bark of another plant. Both are tied together, for example, primrose. Say the process here is also simple. Simple here. So first you have to take a bud and a stem of the selected head plant or desired plant, and then the bud is inserted into a small slit which is made by whoever is doing the process. So then the bud is inserted into a stem into the desired plant, and after some time it will make another plant. Yes, and also both of them are tied together to also form a structure. An example is plum rose. Okay, so rose is a common plant used in artificial methods of vegetative propagation. Yes, rose is a common one. So the process is pretty simple. So that is 3 budding. Alright, and now for the final method, layering. So here the last one here is layering. So in this, the stem of a plant is bent down onto soil. So here the first step is to take any plant or the plant that you want to use. For example, let me just draw it real quick. For example, this is a plant. Yes, you can just imagine it as one. So the first step is to bend a stem of the plant down to the soil. For example, this is one of the stems, and the first step is to just bend it down and just tuck it into the soil. And in areas where it touches the soil, roots develop and later emerge as new plant. So here the process here is also simple. Now here, if you put the stem down and put it into the soil, and if you do the basic things of how to grow a plant, for example watering, keeping in sunlight, all those things, then eventually in the place where the stem has been actually bent down, the same place there will be roots, and then shortly after that it will create a new plant exactly the same as the one that has the bent down stem. That is called layering, using a stem of one plant in order to create another. For example, climbing rose. Yes, rose is a common one here, so don't be surprised if you see it. Climbing rose and also rhodo. So climbing rose and rhododendron. These are some examples of plants that are used in the process of layering. So those are the 4 artificial methods of vegetative propagation. Alright, so that's all for this video. Bye.